Alright, boys and girls, let's take a look at this video very quickly. Tomorrow's lesson is going to be on classifying transformations and determining change. And most of the time, it's easy for us to see transformations with shapes, like triangles and rectangles, etc. It's a lot harder to see it with just a line, okay? So that's the skill that we're looking at for today. Well, let's take a look at this. What is the slope here? You guys can fill that in yourself, and the y-intercept, you can probably fill that in yourself. So we're going to start at 0, 0 and start graphing this, right? Begin at 1, 2, 3, and I am obviously going to be moving up 2 over 1, and then they want us to do 3 points, so I'm going to go down 2 over 1, okay? That's it. This is my first initial line right here, and I'm going to color it in blue. And in fact, these 3 points are the 3 points that I'm going to be using. So the pre-image coordinates are, let's call it A, B, C right here. A is going to be -1, comma 1. B is going to be 0, comma 3, and C is going to be 1, comma 5. Okay, so far so good. Let's take a look at where their quadrants are. It's kind of interesting because I picked something that's like in between quadrants, but it's fine. -1, comma 1 is already in quadrant 2. 0, comma 3, we're gonna just call it we're gonna call it quadrant 1 for the sake. For argument's sake, and then C is going to be in quadrant 1 as well. Okay, so let's take a look at this transformation. It says 270 degrees about the origin 0, comma 0. Okay, so let's think carefully about rotation very quickly at 270. Right, if you're here, right, you know, if this is where you're originally at. This is 90, right? This will put you at 180, so 270 clockwise will put you there. And what's the same thing? So this is 270 degrees clockwise because you go 90, 90, 90. So what's the equivalent of a rotation of 270 degrees? Well, it's a rotation of -90 degrees, or -90 meaning counterclockwise, okay? 90 degrees counterclockwise. So basically this, whatever it is, like 12, 3, 6, 9, it's got to go backwards, right? So counterclockwise. So let's take a look. A right here is in quadrant 2, so it's got to end up in quadrant 3, okay? And then since we said B was in quadrant 1, it's ultimately going to end up in quadrant 2 over here. And then C is in quadrant 1, so it's going to end up in quadrant 2 over here. All right, let's take a look at the image coordinates now, okay? If you're here, right, and you're rotating 90 degrees, notice how we have to swap, right? We got to swap because it's 90, but it's 1, comma 1 anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then basically, if it's in quadrant 3, it's going to be negative, negative. So -1, -1. And then here, for B prime, it's going to be in quadrant 2, but we just simply swap and then make it negative, negative, so it's -3, comma 0. And finally here, 1, comma 5 is in quadrant 2, so we have to swap again, 5, comma 1, and then quadrant 2 makes it negative, positive, so negative, positive. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this. I'm going to change my pen very quickly. -1, -1 is here. Yep, -1, -1 is there. -3, comma 0 is there, and -5, comma 1 is there, okay? So there I have my 3 coordinates, and I'm just going to connect the dots, and this is it, okay? This is it. Here you have, let me take a look. This is A prime, B prime, and C prime. And what you end up seeing is that you have this line, right? And rotated about 90 degrees. What's curious is, what do you think the slope is, right? So right here, line, let's just call it line AC. The slope right here for line AC is actually m is equal to 2 over 1, right? So what's the slope of line A prime, C prime? Well, it's the same thing backwards and forwards. Here you're going down by 1 and over by 2, -1 over 2. This and this kind of looks familiar, right? And eventually, with these lines, when they cross, what do you think they end up creating? Aha, perpendicular lines, right? They end up creating perpendicular lines because this is 90 degrees, okay? And more specifically, this was asking for a rotation, right, of 90 degrees counterclockwise, like this. This is 90 degrees counterclockwise, okay? That's that. let's take a look one more time at this thing right here, and actually you guys are able to really do this on your own at this point, okay? So let's take a look, right? I'll get you guys started. You have here x, y, and z. So let's do x, y, and z, right? And the pre-image coordinate x is, for those who can't see, 3, 2, okay? Pre-image coordinate y is going to be 7, 2, and finally z is going to be 3, 8, I believe, 3, 8, okay? And so after this, you guys are going to fill out your own the quadrants and then figure out what the actual image coordinates are after a 90 degrees counterclockwise, okay? Rotation. And then finally, you're gonna answer the question, what are the slopes of z, y, and z prime and y prime?